People think entitlement is loud. They imagine screaming, insults, maybe a manager getting called. That's the cartoon version. The real thing is quieter and much more confident. It sounds like someone explaining, very calmly, why the world should rearrange itself around their child. I started collecting these moments by accident. Now I can't stop seeing the pattern. It always begins with a normal place. A cafe. A train. A museum. A school hallway. Somewhere boring, somewhere shared. Then someone decides that shared is just a suggestion, and their kid is an exception written in permanent marker. What follows is never just a tantrum. It's a philosophy. A small, loud belief system that says, if my child wants it, reality should cooperate. These aren't stories about bad kids. The kids are usually fine. Curious. Bored. Sometimes tired. Sometimes hungry. The stories are about adults who confuse love with conquest, and advocacy with occupation. About people who don't ask for space anymore. They claim it. And they always seem shocked when the world doesn't applaud. Let me tell you about the first time I realized this wasn't random. It was a Tuesday. It was raining. And a woman tried to upgrade her son's reality using my seat, my schedule, and my silence. I was on a regional train that runs like a Swiss watch if you don't look at it too hard. Assigned seats, quiet car, 2 hours of grey countryside and polite suffering. I had my laptop open, headphones on, pretending to work while actually staring at the same paragraph for 10 minutes. At the next stop, a woman got on with a boy who looked about 9. He had a backpack, a handheld game, and the kind of restless energy that vibrates through cheap plastic seats. They stood in the aisle, scanning numbers. She stopped next to me. "You're in our seat," she said, smiling like she was offering help, not issuing a correction. I pulled up my ticket. "This is 12A. That's what I booked." She frowned at her phone. "We're 12C and 12D. He needs the window. He gets anxious." The boy was already climbing halfway into my row, poking at the window latch like it was a puzzle. "I'm sorry," I said, keeping my voice neutral, "but I paid extra for the window." She laughed, not in a funny way. In a way that suggested I had misunderstood the rules of the universe. "He's a child," she said. "You're an adult. You can handle a different seat." "I can," I said. "I just don't want to." That was the wrong sentence. Her smile collapsed into something sharp. "Wow. Okay. So you're really going to do this?" He had a hard morning. His routine got messed up. "You want to be the reason he's uncomfortable for 2 hours?" The boy looked up at me, more curious than upset. "Mom, it's fine. I can sit there." She put a hand on his shoulder like she was protecting him from me. "No, honey. Some people don't understand what kindness is." A conductor walked by, sensing the static in the air like a trained animal. "Everything okay here?" he asked. "She stole our seat," the woman said, pointing at me. I held up my ticket again. He checked both. Nodded. "These seats are assigned. You're in 12C and 12D. Sir is in 12A. She stared at him like he'd just betrayed her personally. "So that's it," she said. "My son just has to suffer?" The conductor blinked. "He has a seat. That's not suffering." She leaned in closer to him. "You people always hide behind rules. He's a child. He needs the window. It helps him regulate." The boy was now fully absorbed in his game, the crisis apparently over. The conductor repeated himself, slower. "Ma'am, please take your seats." She did. But not before looking back at me and saying, loudly, "Some people only care about themselves. Remember that, sweetie." The boy didn't look up. For the next 2 hours, she kept sighing dramatically, like she was performing a long, emotional audiobook for no one. And I realized something uncomfortable. She wasn't angry at me. She was angry that the world didn't automatically bend. A few months later, I was in a small city museum, the kind with quiet rooms and polite signs that say please do not touch, like they're asking a favor, not setting a rule. There was a temporary exhibit with glass cases and soft lighting. Expensive, fragile, very obviously not a playground. A man was there with his daughter, maybe 6 or 7. She was energetic in that way kids get when they're overstimulated and underexplained. She ran from case to case, leaving fingerprints like a traveling crime scene. "Sweetie, careful," the dad said, in the same tone people use when they mean do whatever, just don't fall. She stopped in front of a ceramic bowl, old enough to have survived empires. She tapped the glass. Then she tried the edge of the case. "Please don't touch the glass," a staff member said gently. "She's just curious," the dad replied. "Aren't we supposed to encourage that?" The girl had now found a bench and was using it like a climbing frame, shoes on, feet swinging dangerously close to a sculpture. "Sir," the staff member said, firmer now, "this is a preservation space." The dad sighed like he was being asked to solve a moral dilemma. "So what, you want her to just stand still and stare?" "She's a kid. This is how she learns." The girl lost her balance and grabbed the edge of the display case. It wobbled. The room collectively inhaled. 2 more staff members appeared out of nowhere, like NPCs triggered by poor decisions. "Sir, we need you to step back and keep your daughter with you," one said. He straightened up, offended. "We paid for tickets. This is a public museum." "Yes," the woman said, "and these are public rules." "So you're saying my child isn't welcome?" "No," she said, carefully. "We're saying the artifacts need to be protected." He looked around, searching for allies. "This is ridiculous. You're turning culture into something hostile." "She's connecting with history." The girl had moved on and was now licking her fingers and pressing them against another glass case. I watched his face when they asked him to leave. It wasn't anger. It was disbelief. Like he'd been told gravity was cancelled. As he walked out, he said, loudly, "This place is anti-children. No wonder kids grow up hating museums." Or maybe, I thought, they grow up thinking the world is a toy store. I work remotely sometimes from a small cafe near my apartment. It's quiet in the mornings, mostly older couples and people pretending to write novels. One day, a woman came in with a boy who couldn't have been more than 5. He immediately started running laps between tables like he was training for something invisible. She ordered a latte and a croissant. He grabbed a muffin from the counter display and took a bite before anyone could stop him. "Oh," she said, laughing. "Guess we're getting that too." The barista smiled, rang it up, and said the total. The woman frowned. "Why is it so expensive?" "It's for a child." "That's the price," the barista said. "It's the same for everyone." The woman leaned in, lowering her voice like she was sharing a secret. "He's gifted. He has sensory issues. He only eats certain textures. You should really support that." The barista looked confused. I just work here." They sat near me. The boy started banging a spoon against the table, then against the window. Then he tried to climb onto the chair next to him, which belonged to an elderly man who had gone to the restroom. "Sweetie, not there," she said, without moving. The manager came over after the spoon hit the floor for the 3rd time. "Ma'am, we need your son to stay seated. People are working." She crossed her arms. "So what, you want to silence children now? This is a community space." "It is," the manager said. "That's why we have rules." Her voice got louder. "Unbelievable. You should be grateful he's here. He's the next generation. He could be anything. A scientist. An artist. A leader." The boy was now under the table, kicking chair legs like a percussion section. "And you're charging me full price," she added, "like he's just a regular customer." The manager paused. "He is a regular customer. She stared at him like he'd just insulted her family tree. They left in a storm of muttering and scraped chairs. On the table, she'd written "do better" in spilled milk foam with her finger. I stared at it, thinking about how often people confuse "my child is special to me" with "my child is special to the world." Here's the pattern that keeps repeating: none of these people think they're being unreasonable. They're not trying to break rules. They're trying to replace them. In their heads, there's a hierarchy. At the top, their child's comfort. Below that, everything else. Schedules, prices, artifacts, other people's space. All negotiable. They use the language of care to justify conquest. He's anxious. She's learning. He's gifted. These aren't explanations. They're crowbars. Tools to pry open shared spaces and turn them into private extensions of their family life. What makes it so effective is that it sounds moral. Who argues against supporting a child? Who wants to be the villain in a story about feelings and development? So the pressure shifts. Suddenly, the person enforcing a rule looks cruel. And the person breaking it looks brave. But a system that collapses for every personal exception isn't compassionate. It's just empty. It teaches one child they're the center, and everyone else that they don't count. And once you see that logic, you start seeing it everywhere. Including in places where the stakes are a lot higher than a muffin or a window seat. My cousin is a teacher. Middle school. The age where confidence and confusion wrestle constantly, and usually both lose. One afternoon, she asked me to sit in on a parent meeting as moral support, which is adult code for witness. The father arrived with a binder. Tabs. Printed graphs. Highlighted quotes. He sat down like he was about to negotiate a merger. "My son isn't being challenged," he said immediately. "You're holding him back." My cousin nodded. "He's doing fine academically. But he's struggling with deadlines and group work." "That's because he's bored," the dad said. "He needs more advanced material. More freedom. Less structure." "He also hasn't turned in 3 assignments," she said. The dad waved that away. "That's because busy work kills creativity. You have to look at the big picture. He's destined for great things." The boy sat next to him, staring at the floor. "We're concerned about his behavior in class," my cousin added. "He interrupts, refuses to follow instructions, and sometimes walks out." The dad smiled, proud. "That's leadership. He doesn't just follow. He questions." "He also told another student their project was stupid and ripped part of it," she said. "That's honesty," the dad replied. "The real world isn't gentle." The meeting ended with him demanding a custom curriculum and special grading standards to match his son's potential. On the way out, the boy whispered, "Dad, I just don't like group projects." The dad didn't hear him. He was already planning the future. "I go to a small climbing gym. Nothing fancy. Just walls, chalk, and people quietly losing to gravity." One evening, a woman came in with her daughter, maybe 8 or 9, for a kids' competition. The rules were simple. Time limits. Points for routes completed. Everyone clapped. Everyone fell. The girl tried one route and got stuck halfway. She slid down, frustrated. Her mom marched up to the judge. "She needs another try." "She can try again on the next round," he said. "That's how it works." But she was distracted, the mom insisted. Someone laughed. That threw her off. No one had laughed. A kid had slipped and landed on a mat. "She deserves a fair chance," the mom said. "She has the same chance as everyone else," he replied. The mom's voice got sharp. "Do you have any idea how hard she's worked? We drive here 3 times a week. We pay for private coaching." The judge nodded. "That's great. But the rules are the same." The mom turned to the other parents. "You're all okay with this? With them crushing a child's confidence?" The girl was sitting on the mat, swinging her legs, watching another kid climb. In the end, her mom pulled her out and told her loudly, "They don't appreciate talent here. We'll find a place that does." The girl looked relieved. I was staying at a mid-range hotel for a conference. Free breakfast. Scrambled eggs. Toast. The usual civilized chaos. A woman was loading her plate like she was preparing for winter. Her son stood next to her, holding a small bowl of cereal. She took the last of the pancakes. All of them. Another guest said, politely, "Oh, were there more coming?" She snapped, "My son is an athlete. He needs carbs." The son looked at his cereal. "Mom, I don't even like pancakes." She ignored him. When staff brought out more, she took those too. Then she sat down and scrolled on her phone while the pancakes went cold. A man from another table asked if he could take one. "My kid's still hungry." She put a hand over the plate. "Sorry. These are for my son." The son was eating cereal. Still. When staff asked her to share, she said, "This is a buffet. I paid for it." "So did everyone else," the staff member replied. She leaned back. "Then you should manage your supply better. It's not my job to ration." 10 minutes later, they threw most of them away. I was flying out for a short work trip, the kind where you arrive tired and leave more tired. Security was slow, the line moved like it was thinking about moving, and everyone had that quiet airport anger humming under their skin. In front of me, a woman stood with a boy around 10. He was playing on a tablet, headphones half on, half off. The woman kept checking her watch, then the line, then her phone. "This is ridiculous," she said, loudly, to no one. "My son has a tight schedule." A security officer motioned the next person forward. "Not her. Someone else." She stepped out of line. "Excuse me, we need to go first." The officer looked up. "Is there a medical issue?" "No," she said. "He has a competition. And he gets anxious when he's late." The boy didn't look anxious. He was building something with digital blocks. "I'm sorry," the officer said, "but everyone here is trying to catch a flight." She crossed her arms. "So you're saying my child's goals don't matter?" "I'm saying the line works the same for everyone." She leaned closer. "Do you have kids?" The officer paused. "Yes." "Then you should understand. This isn't just a trip. This is his future." The officer pointed to the back of the line. "So is theirs." She huffed, stepped back, and then did something impressive. She started narrating. Loudly. "Some people don't care about dreams. They just care about rules. Remember this, honey. The world is full of small people who want to keep you small." A man behind us muttered, "Lady, we're all just trying to take our shoes off." She turned. "You don't get it. You probably never had potential." The boy finally looked up. "Mom, I just don't want to miss the snacks on the plane." When we all got through, guess what happened? The flight was delayed. Time, it turns out, didn't care about her speech. A friend of mine invited me to her wedding. Small, carefully planned, explicitly child-free. It said so on the invitation. Politely. In 2 languages. During the ceremony, I noticed a woman in the third row whispering loudly to 3 kids who were playing with the programs like they were origami weapons. At the reception, the bride's face did that tight smile people get when they're trying not to cry or scream. The woman marched over to the buffet. "So where's the kids' food?" The caterer blinked. "This is the menu that was ordered." She turned to the bride. "You didn't think about children at all?" The bride said, gently, "We said it was child-free." The woman laughed. "Oh, that's more of a suggestion. Family is family." One of the kids knocked over a glass. Another started pushing the cake table. The woman came back, holding a plate. "They don't like this." I'm going to order pizza. You can Venmo me. The bride stared. I'm not paying for that. The woman's face hardened. Wow. So you're really starting your marriage by excluding children? My wedding, the bride said, is not a community center. The woman shook her head like she was witnessing a tragedy. Unbelievable. My kids will remember this. They probably will, I thought. Just not the way she thinks. I was waiting at a clinic for a routine appointment. Boring chairs, old magazines, a TV playing something about home renovations. A woman came in with a teenage boy who looked perfectly healthy and deeply annoyed to be there. They checked in and were told the wait was about 40 minutes. She laughed. No, we can't wait that long. The receptionist looked up. Everyone here is waiting. My son has a test later, she said. We need to be in and out. The receptionist repeated herself. Slowly. The woman leaned on the counter. So what do you suggest? He just fails because you're inefficient? The boy sighed. Mom, it's fine. No, she said, patting his arm. Your future isn't fine. You need me to advocate for you. She turned back. We'll just go ahead of whoever's next. The receptionist said, That's not how this works. The woman raised her voice. This is a medical facility. You're supposed to help people. We are, the receptionist said. In the order they arrive. A man in the waiting room coughed. We've all been here an hour. The woman pointed at him. You don't understand urgency. He replied, I understand lines. In the end, they left in a storm. The boy looked relieved. I wondered if he'd rather fail the test than win another argument he didn't start. There's a thin line between supporting your child and occupying the world on their behalf. On one side, you teach them how to move through systems. On the other, you try to rewrite the systems so they never have to learn. The people in these stories don't see rules as shared agreements. They see them as obstacles to be negotiated, preferably with emotion. Every boundary becomes a personal insult. Every no becomes proof of injustice. And notice something else, the kids often don't even want the fight. They want snacks. Or to go home. Or for it to stop being weird. The conflict isn't about their needs. It's about the parent's identity. About proving they are the kind of person who never accepts limits. The tragedy is subtle. You don't raise a child to feel special by making them an exception to everything. You raise them to feel special by teaching them how to exist with other people without needing the world to kneel first. I was working from a public library one afternoon. Quiet floor. The sacred zone. A woman came in with 2 kids and immediately started talking at full volume about a YouTube channel they should start. The librarian approached. This is the quiet study area. The children's section is downstairs. The woman smiled. My kids are advanced. They don't belong down there. One of the kids was spinning in a chair like he was auditioning for dizziness. They're working on creative projects, she continued. You should encourage that. The librarian said, They're welcome here if they're quiet. The woman crossed her arms. So you want to silence young minds? The kids started running between tables. Other people looked up. Someone closed their laptop. The librarian asked them to leave. The woman's voice got loud. This is discrimination against gifted children. You're afraid of their potential. As they left, one of the kids said, Can we go get ice cream? The woman said, See? They're emotional now because of you. The librarian just nodded, tired in a way only librarians can be. I met an old colleague for dinner at a small place that specializes in exactly 3 things and does them well. A woman came in with her son and asked for a table. She looked at the menu for about 10 seconds. He doesn't eat any of this. The server said, This is what we serve. She smiled. Can you just make him something else? Plain pasta. No sauce. No seasoning. We don't have that, the server said. The woman tilted her head. But you have a kitchen. The server blinked. Yes. For the menu. So you're refusing to accommodate a child? We're a small place, the server said. We can recommend somewhere else. The woman's smile vanished. Unbelievable. He has very specific needs. The boy whispered, Mom, I can just get bread. She ignored him. You people don't care about families. They left a 1-star review before they even hit the sidewalk. I know because my colleague showed it to me on his phone. It was already live. My neighbor's kid had a school sports day. I went to watch. Harmless chaos. Sack races. Parents pretending not to care. One boy tripped during a race and came in last. He shrugged and went for water. His mother marched to the teacher. That wasn't fair. The teacher said, he tripped. It happens. Then he deserves a rerun, she said. That's not how races work. The woman raised her voice. So you're teaching kids that failure is acceptable? The boy was sitting in the grass, laughing with another kid. I'm teaching them that sometimes you lose, the teacher replied. The mom pointed at her son. He could have won. You took that from him. The boy called out, Mom, I don't care. She didn't hear him. By the end, she was threatening to call the school board. The boy just wanted a popsicle. I was staying at a business hotel, the kind designed for people who like silence and bad coffee. One evening, a woman at the front desk was arguing with the receptionist while her toddler lay on the floor, pushing a toy car into strangers' shoes. I need a room far from the elevators, she said, and no neighbors on either side. The receptionist typed something. We're nearly full. I can move you to a quieter floor, but I can't block out an entire corridor. The woman frowned. My child is a light sleeper. The toddler was now making engine noises at full volume. So am I, the receptionist said, carefully. That's different, the woman replied. He's a child. Behind me, someone muttered, so are we, just taller. The woman turned. Excuse me? Nothing. Silence. Professional silence. When she got her room key, she said, if he wakes up because of noise, I expect compensation. At 11 p.m., guess who was running in the hallway? Guess who was yelling, use your inside voice, sweetie, in a voice loud enough to be used outdoors? I was in a clothing store when a woman and her son came in. The boy grabbed a jacket from a display and dragged it across the floor like it was a defeated animal. Careful, the employee said. He's just exploring textures, the mom replied. The boy dropped it and picked up another one. Then another. After about 5 minutes, the floor looked like a fabric crime scene. Ma'am, the employee said, could you have him stop? The mom smiled. He's learning about choices. The employee pointed at a sign. These are new items. The mom crossed her arms. So you're saying children shouldn't be allowed to learn in public spaces? The boy tugged on a rack and almost tipped it over. In the end, they asked her to leave. She said, loudly, retail hates families. This is why people shop online. The boy looked confused. He was just bored. He didn't need a manifesto. A small local theater was showing a late evening play. Not a kid's show. Long, quiet scenes. Lots of people staring at each other meaningfully. You know, theater. A woman came in with a boy around 7. He lasted 10 minutes before starting to whisper loudly. When does something happen? He asked. The mom said, soon. It did not happen soon. He started kicking the seat in front of him. The person turned around. The mom gave them a look that said, how dare you exist behind my child's feet? An usher came over. Ma'am, if he's uncomfortable, we can help you step out. She replied, no. He needs to experience culture. The boy said, I don't like it. She whispered, you'll thank me later. When they were finally asked to leave, she said, you're teaching him that art excludes people. No, I thought. You're teaching him that his boredom is everyone else's problem. At some point, parenting advice got mixed up with customer service language. Accommodate. Optimize. Personalize. These words make sense in apps. They make sense in subscriptions. They make sense when you're choosing a playlist. They don't make sense when you're raising a human in a shared world. A society isn't a settings menu. You don't get to toggle off noise, friction, or other people. The job isn't to make the world perfectly comfortable. The job is to teach someone how to exist inside it without demanding that it reshape itself every time they feel inconvenient emotions. What keeps showing up in these stories isn't love. It's fear. Fear that if a child ever feels disappointed, bored, or ordinary, something has gone wrong. So parents rush in, not to guide, but to bulldoze. And the quiet cost is this: kids don't learn resilience from exception. They learn it from limits. From waiting. From hearing not today and discovering they survive it. I was at a crowded beach. Towels everywhere. Kids screaming like seagulls. A man set up a large umbrella right in the narrow path people used to walk to the water. Someone asked, politely, could you move it a bit? People keep tripping. He said, my kids need shade. So does everyone else, I thought. A kid ran by and knocked into the umbrella pole. The dad snapped, watch it. The kid said, there's no space. The dad turned to the crowd. Maybe if people respected family areas, this wouldn't happen. There is no family area, someone replied. It's a public beach. The dad laughed. Not anymore. When a lifeguard asked him to move it, he said, so you're prioritizing strangers over my children? The lifeguard said, I'm prioritizing gravity. He moved it. Barely. My friend teaches history and took her class on a museum trip. One parent volunteered to come along. She spent the first 10 minutes telling everyone her daughter was not like other kids. During a guided talk, her daughter got bored and started wandering. Please stay with the group, the guide said. She doesn't learn like this, the mom replied. She needs freedom. The guide said, so does the schedule. Later, the mom complained that the tour was too negative because it talked about wars and disasters. She's sensitive, she said. Can you focus on the happier parts? The guide stared at her. It's a history museum. On the bus ride back, the daughter slept. The mom wrote an email about how the museum had failed to meet her child's emotional needs. I was in a grocery store line when a woman tried to push her cart ahead of everyone else. My son is tired, she said. The son was sitting in the cart, playing a game. A cashier said, the line starts back there. The woman said, so you want him to suffer? A man behind me said, we all want to go home. She turned to him. You don't understand compassion. He replied, I understand cues. She huffed, stayed, and spent the entire way telling her son loudly how unfair people were. He didn't look upset. He looked bored. I went to a kid's birthday party for a friend's daughter. Balloons, cake, chaos. One mother complained that the goodie bags weren't balanced enough. My son got more stickers than candy, she said. The host laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. So what are you going to do about it? The mom asked. Nothing, the host said. They're 5. The mom shook her head. This is how inequality starts. The kids were trading stickers happily. No one cared. Except her. On a city bus, a woman let her son play videos without headphones at full volume. Someone asked her to turn it down. He needs it, she said. It helps him calm down. The driver said, it's disturbing other passengers. She replied, so you're saying his comfort doesn't matter? A man said, we're saying we all exist. She got off at the next stop, announcing loudly that public transport was hostile to families. The bus got quieter. Immediately. None of these moments are about rules for their own sake. They're about learning how to share a world that doesn't revolve around you. Every generation has to learn that lesson. But some adults are now trying to skip it on their children's behalf. They confuse protection with exemption. They confuse love with leverage. The irony is painful. In trying to give their kids everything, they take away the one skill that actually makes life easier: the ability to move through spaces without needing to win every small, invisible battle. The world isn't cruel because it has limits. It's functional because of them. And kids don't grow strong because the road is cleared. They grow strong because, sometimes, they have to walk it like everyone else. I still notice these scenes everywhere. On trains. In stores. At schools. In waiting rooms. They're small. Almost forgettable. But together, they form a pattern. A quiet belief that some lives are meant to be adjusted to, not adjusted with. The kids will be fine. They usually are. They're adaptable. They're resilient. They just want snacks, or sleep, or for the adults to stop making things weird. It's the adults who struggle with the idea that the world doesn't need to applaud their parenting to function. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Not for the children. For the people who keep trying to teach the world how to behave.